Good afternoon. This is Concert Truth Presents. I'm your host, Boma. Today is Wednesday, June 16th, 3 p.m. Central Time. Sorry for those of you that were expecting our Sir Paul McCartney interview, but we had to cancel that in order to accommodate someone that is called the busiest bass player in the music industry. Joking aside, we are honored to have today bass player and virtuoso Mr. Nathan East joining us today. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Thanks for that introduction. Don't tell Paul McCartney that.
Yeah, so now I had to cancel you because Nathan is available tonight.
Oh, you're
How you
too kind.
doing?
Thank you.
So we were
It's good
talking
to be
earlier.
here. You doing okay?
Also, just a little heat. Texas weather it can be pretty bad. I mean, it's like 100 and change. So it's
Yikes!
and wearing black doesn't help. So
Right, exactly. Now it's all over the country, I guess. Heat waves. So everybody stay cool,
yeah, it's weird. It's weird because it's
stay
just
hydrated.
how. So I don't know what's going on, but it's just a matter of hoping that we get just stay indoors. They actually sent us a try to avoid going using the AC too much. So we'll do as best as we can.
Definitely.
So Nathan, thank you so much for joining us again. And just to start off a little bit, can you talk to us about your beginnings as a 16-year-old, or how early did you start jamming or picking up an instrument?
Yeah, it was 11 when I picked up the cello for a few years, but then it was age 14 I discovered the bass, and then that got me. Picking up that instrument in a church while tagging along with my older brothers, David and Raymond, and just feeling the magic, holding this kind of magical situation where we can play music and make music, So that was just one of the things that I knew early on. This is what I wanted to do, and didn't take long for a couple of years later to be on tour with Barry White, Love Unlimited Orchestra, and just like saying, you know what, this is kind of what you dream of.
How did the connection between Barry White and yourself? How did that? Did he saw you in church, or was it someone that recommended you? And
Yes, he saw our band Power when we backed up all the Stax artists for a Stax review at the San Diego Sports Arena.
hmm
Rufus Thomas and all their artists, and Barry White was one of them, and he loved the band so much he hired the entire band.
you became the whole backup band,
Yeah, so
sort of
he
like a
used our
Chuck Berry. Great. So how long did that lasted for you guys or yourself with Barry White?
Well, we did a couple years around, and then actually I got sort of reintroduced to him later and started going into the studio with him. One of his guitar players, we kept in touch, and he said, you know what, now the next thing is to get in there and start making some of these records with him. So went up and did some sessions and found myself playing on a lot of Barry White records. Excuse me.
Wow, amazing. And then you started getting offers joining other people, I guess, being that you were
Yeah.
already on tour and getting recognition.
Yeah, LA is sort of word of mouth. Oops, excuse me.
Not a problem.
Word of mouth, and so on a lot of those sessions, you had musicians like David T. Walker, Ray Parker Jr., Wah, Lee Ritenour, and everything is sort of word of mouth. So when a new guy comes around, if you're good enough and you raise enough eyebrows, then word gets around.
Yeah, say this new guy in town, or I can't do the gig. Can you call this friend of mine? He'll take over.
Right, that's kind of how it works.
Now, being a studio musician, I mean, you've played and toured with a bunch of people. I mean, at the end, the list is endless. I mean, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Phil Collins, Stevie Wonder. I mean, it's just Luis Miguel. I mean, it ranges from so many artists. I mean, how did that started to become from like you said, starting at the earlier years to become a professional musician? I mean, what was that step like going into studios, and now it's like full on?
Well, the There's nothing better than that phone ringing, you know. And I can remember when I first moved up, end of like middle of '79. You know, I used to call the phone company and have them call me just to make sure the ringer worked on the phone. It was pretty silent.
My phone alive.
Yeah, exactly. Call me one more time and just make sure it's working. And but then, you know, once 1980 hit, I started working with Gene Page, who was arranging a lot of different, like he was doing everything from commercials to the Jacksons to Dionne Warwick, Johnny Mathis. So he started using me, and my phone was, then it just didn't stop ringing every day, you know. And then you know, things kind of, one thing leads to another. I got a call from Quincy Jones, you know, Kenny Loggins, Al Jarreau. Then I worked with Phil Collins and Philip Bailey, and Eric Clapton, you know. So it's just like a little snowball effect, the way it worked.
It progresses into different artists and I guess gigs and how to become, and then you also become a touring musician, not just a session player. You become
Right.
involved in those records, and then you go on tour. But specifically on the recording side, I mean, how do you guys, you know, how do you work in the studio? I mean, you know, what's the best chemistry that you look for once you get into a situation, you get, you know, hired to work on some records? Is it, you know, you're looking for excitement because of the musician himself, you know, the artist, or the musicians around him? So the drummers, is the guitarist, you know, what is it that makes you feel that this is going to be a great record?
Well, you know, when you're in the studio, that's like ground zero for, you know, you got a new piece of music coming, starting from nothing. And then you're all of a sudden, you know, and back in the day it was 24 track tape. Now it's Pro Tools, you know,
Cool.
and but you're starting with nothing, so you're kind of relying on a room full of musicians and their expertise and their instincts, and you never really know what's going to come out. But when you look up and you're surrounded by some of the finest players, that's always good news, you know, and that's always something that's going to make the session go better. And if you think about it, you know, a lot of the same guys were getting called only because they were the hit makers and they were the guys making it all happen.
You were sort of like the movie, what's it called? All those musicians that, you know, started working on the Beach Boys, and then every single session.
Oh yeah, the Wrecking Crew guys. Yeah, I mean,
the Wrecking Crew.
They were doing everything. That was even before my time, you know, where they were just in there making all those hits, you know, just one right after another.
Incredible how many you know, leads or riffs and bass lines you think was, you know, different musicians. It was the same crew, just probably the same situation at some point, you know, because you worked with so many people that Toto and I mean, so many. And then also you also become involved in the recordings. I mean, you also, you know, part of the creative process of those songs. You know, how is that? How do you tie into that, working with different artists and say, hey, I got this little piece, or just, as you were saying, the flow in the studio becomes so creative that everybody starts to putting in some, you know, input into the recording session or process.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's sort of a collaborative effort every time you're in, you know, and that's why, you know, the people they try to call the best group of musicians that they can, because everybody's always inputting ideas. And you know, you'll be on the floor and it'll be like, what about this? You know, what about this for an ending? What about this for an intro? How about this chord? And so there's, you know, you have a piece of music that you're turning into something, and then everybody's contributing their bits and pieces and to make it what it is.
Yeah, it's the final effort that comes into that. And now the touring process. I mean, just to get a little glimpse of that, you know, or artists you've been working with. I mean, one is this one right here, awesome,
Hey, Stevie.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder. I know you got to work with Willie Nelson, because you're, I mean, you work with a bunch, you know, from jazz, rock, blues, country, techno, and dance, and Daft Punk. I mean,
you end up, even some of these shows that are multi-artist shows, you end up, you know, in one night you end up working with, you know, 5 different great artists. When we did the Sammy Davis Jr. 60th birthday celebration, and on that show was Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Ella Fitzgerald was on there, Frank Sinatra. I mean, it was like so many people, and so in one night, the resume just goes from
You,
0 to 60.
your whole bucket list just went out the window, right?
Right. Really amazing.
Wow. Sammy Davis must have been a character in an
Oh
awesome
yeah,
situation. Now, and I've seen you. I mean, there's so many, like I was mentioning, so many different pictures I found in your Herbie Hancock, David Sanborn, all these amazing Dennis Chambers,
wow.
Jeff Beck,
Yeah,
Pat Metheny.
that was at the Eric Clapton's Crossroads, the first Crossroads concert that he did was in Dallas, Texas.
You've been involved with Clapton for a while, right?
Many years, yeah. We've gone, let's see, 35 years ago, almost 40 years ago, we met up in LA, and actually we met out in England, out in Guildford, where Phil Collins used to live out there, and Eric, and so Phil actually introduced me to Eric for the first time out in Guildford.
And that's how they originally started working with him, doing all the.
Right,
You recorded a lot of records, not just touring, right?
yeah, lots of records now. Starting with one called August. Then we went to Journeyman, 24 Nights, a lot of Pilgrim, the Unplugged. It's been great.
That when you mentioned that Unplugged, I mean, that whole album just became. I mean, it catapulted his career. I mean, not that he was again, I mean, just the whole new version of the Tears in Heaven, and just the whole situation around his personal life, and how amazing that record and performance was. How was that to be in that room? Was it like, did it feel like that? You're making an awesome record.
Yeah, it was an afternoon. I mean, I think top to bottom, and it took like maybe 2.5, 3 hours to do. And you knew you were doing something special because it was acoustic. It was one of the first unplugged MTV scenarios where everybody unplugged, and so this one was truly unplugged. Everything was just mic'd. It had upright bass and acoustic instruments, and it really made for a special kind of approach to all the music that you kind of have to reinvent the songs. Like Layla sort of came out with another feelings. And now there's 2 great versions of Layla.
Yeah, I mean, that one just became a version on its own. I mean, because you have the electric, pounding, and then you have this,
It's acoustic
bluesy,
Yeah.
version of it, and that's, was that rearranged among you guys, or was something that he came up with?
Yeah, just kind of on the spot. I know Eric and Andy Fairweather Lowe, they were kind of fooling around with arrangements and different tempos and things. But yeah, you just kind of go with the new version.
Now, working with guitarists and different, but I was going to ask you a bit about drummers. I mean, you work with Steve Gadd, you work with Vinny, and with different many. What are you looking to? What do you try to get once you get into that connection? Once you're playing with drummers, in particular, with Phil Collins. I mean, I don't know if the Easy Lover session, was he playing the drums the whole time with somebody else? I mean, I think that was
Phil was playing the whole time.
He was his. That was when he was really banging the drums.
Oh man, it was amazing. That was our first time working together, and it just as a bass player, the drums it's kind of like your wife. You're married in the session, so
yeah,
it was really really good, good fun to get into Phil's groove and play with him. He's just amazing musician.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. And then Steve Gadd, I mean, he's somebody else that is just completely a different style of drumming.
Yeah. Yes, again, Steve Gadd, legendary drummer. I mean, I'm just blessed to play with some of the best drummers ever, and as a bass player, you can't wish for more.
Yeah, right. I mean, you get to pick, or get to work with all these amazing artists. And then when you decide to say, I'm going to do a band called Foreplay, I'm going to do my own. I'm going to get a little busier now and start doing my own recordings, and form a band and get together and see what happens. I mean, how did that, develop into getting into? If you're doing all this work, saying I need to do my own,
I mean,
thing now.
It's a natural progression, and I know for many years, even the guys in Foreplay, Nate, when are you going to do your own solo album? So that was like that was always inspiration. And Foreplay came together very organically. We were playing on a Bob James record. Lee Ritenour and Harvey Mason both recommended me to play bass. They recommended me to Bob. And so when the quartet was in the studio making that record, Bob immediately picked up on the chemistry between the quartet. And he had an executive position at Warner Brothers Records. And he said, guys, would you want to do a band and just like a quartet? And we all thought, yeah, we thought, yeah, good musicians, good fun, something to do in addition to our regular day jobs, And so we put it together, and that was 30 years ago.
Wow, nice. And also, lots of great records, but also a lot of revolving members at some point, right?
Yes, the guitar chair seems to revolve. We started with Lee Ritenour for about 7 years, and then Larry Carlton came in when Lee left, and for about 12 years. So we had a good run with Larry before Chuck Loeb came in after Larry left.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, between all those guys, you can't do much better. We're actually doing a reunion in about a year. It's April 23rd through 30th. We're doing a cruise to Tahiti. It's the Jazz Weekender cruise. So if anybody wants to go, just Google that. Jazz Weekender with Foreplay, and Robin Ford is going to be the guitarist on that cruise.
Oh, okay. So yeah, another new member. It's like the Spinal Tap of guitars.
Right. Oh, that's funny. Well, it's great, because most guitar players too, they're outstanding leaders in their own right, So, sometimes the band situation isn't as conducive because they have their own situations that are so strong.
Yeah, especially someone like Lee Ritenour. I mean, he has his own career going on, and I guess, and he is like a solo artist on his own. And I guess Bob James too, but but still, it's more session musicianship than being the main guy on stage. You're always
pretty much
part of that.
Yeah, pretty much everybody has their own career, but in a band scenario, it's nice because it allows you to be, sort of the sideman for the other guys, and then also we each produce our own songs that we write and bring in. So it's nice because you don't have to do the whole burden. If you're making a record, you don't have to carry all the weight and do all that in the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Is there any live video of any of those performances from all the different lineups that you may have in a room somewhere in the back by those gold records?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it's nice. It's nice when you get acknowledged and people send you something and as a reminder, and it's always just. It's not the reason we do things, but it's an extra little bonus, and we appreciate people acknowledging.
Tap in the back. Yeah, very good job. So you guys mentioned, so there's no live. Do you have any live video recordings of that lineups or different lineups of Foreplay that you may have somewhere that at some point could see?
There's some on YouTube. There's one that's really special. I'm very proud of it. We played with the symphony orchestra in Japan. It was about 10 years ago. So it's Foreplay. I think it's Sumida Hall. Anyway, it's Foreplay in Japan, about 2010, with the orchestra, with the symphony. And so we rearranged a lot of the songs for that performance, and it really came out great. But we have live in Cape Town, and we have some live from the studio. So I think I should keep up more with the YouTube, with the latest videos that are on YouTube. But I think on our YouTube channel and the Foreplay social medias, you can find some of these.
You can find performances. Yeah, because I'm always more curious into just having the actual product. You can find it anywhere, either by their own band, or somebody just uploads it. But I always like to get the whole package situation where you can kind of read liner notes and stories about the tour and what was happening around that time. And
I always like to, I like to get the product, and it helps the industry just keep spinning.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw you guys released a LP last year, an anniversary.
Oh, we actually um, sort of there was a new label took over a lot of the early foreplay records, and they did some re-releasing, and so Evolution um, has come out with some re-releases of, and I think they're on vinyl and every kind of format of CD as well.
No 8 track.
Really did a great job too. It's fun to it's fun to kind of relive some of those early moments of the band as well.
Yeah, I mean, now that everybody was going crazy on the LP, you know,
Yeah,
situation where you had that whole, which was, I mean, for me was the best experience when you buy any kind of record. You sometimes you just buy it because of the cover.
exactly. I was talking to somebody last night about all the CTI records and covers that, like the albums were great, but then the covers alone were
Yeah,
amazing. So that's one thing we miss today in the downloading world is looking at these covers and
yeah, you
great.
could see a little tiny bit, just the little covers this size, and
It's just like this little, and
yeah,
reading the liner notes and all that used to be so much fun to do.
yeah, you kind of find out, he was actually playing bass on, this song, or you find out that the whole Toto band had played on Michael Jackson's Thriller or something like
Exactly.
that.
Exactly. It's a lot to learn there, and then so I'm sure I'm sure I think there's websites or something where you can find the credits, but that was a really good rate. You can get this nice big, you know, the album that you could look at and read the covers, and that was always
Yeah,
fun.
I hate it when they only had like one sheet, not just on the whole covers for the record. You could put the record and check out the lyrics, and you turn around and get it's a whole
Right.
experience. I mean, you just doesn't never. And I mean, if you like the music and you like the records,
Yeah.
and talking about different artists you work with, what some of the ones that we've lost in the last few years. Talking about Michael Jackson, Chick Corea, and so many others. Any experiences from your career from those sessions or those connections, more like the personal way of interaction with them that
Yeah.
you.
No, it's it's always sad to lose icons like they most recently Chick Corea, where um, he was such an influence in music and such an educator, and everything he did was just always just taking your game higher. So I was blessed that he played on my record. He played a song on my last record, Reverence, song called Shadow, and he put the nice Chick Corea, that synth sound, that
Uh-huh.
undeniable sound, and just he was a great maestro and mentor and friend, and one of those guys that you wish would live forever. And so you know people like him and Michael Jackson, you just miss them.
Yeah, they're genius in their own way, right?
Yeah,
Creatively.
yeah, the creative genius, and just the fact that they're so generous with their gift, and they share um all of their talents with us, and it just really, it makes you really realize that every day is a gift, and we should, you almost have to live it like it's your last.
Yeah, it's a present. They say the present is actually a present of being alive every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of Michael Jackson,
Hey,
how there you go.
there he is.
Was that the only recording sessions you guys worked on that song, or was it the whole bad uh, record, or was it just that one song
I played
that
on
you were
that
part
one
of?
song, I Just Can't Stop Loving You, on the bad record, but see, one of those records behind me is the History record that I worked on um,
Okay.
as well. And so just a couple with him.
And you've gone from jazz to rock. You also work with Satriani in at some point as well. I mean, how do you, to me it's like uh, when you're a musician and in your case you've had the chance to develop your way of playing in different styles of music, and and they're all glued perfectly. I mean, there's not a for example, like I was saying, Satriani or or Chick Corea, I mean, or Luis Miguel. I mean, all these different uh, music artists and how you connect with them. I mean, that to me is something that was very much interesting to me to talk to you about because it's so extensive in many ways. And then you go on tours also like the progression of how you go on to develop that. It's something
Well,
that I
when you're a music lover like I am, I studied music. That's what I got my degree in music at UC San Diego.
mhm.
Um, you you basically are just as much a fan as you are, an employee and what have you. So and my musical taste, A to Z. So I don't really I don't really say, like I'm a jazz or rock and roll or R&B.
Mhm.
So just whatever good music is, and if I'm able to play it and be involved with it, that's what's most important to me. So yeah, it ends up being fun to do the spectrum from a Satriani to foreplay to Eric to Phil Collins to Giro to just like
Da- Daft Punk.
foreplay everything. Yeah, Daft Punk and everything A to Z. It's just a blessing. Ringo.
Ringo, you just did a video with him recently, right?
Yeah, we just did. He's been calling me for his last few projects, and it's great too because he calls himself, and just you pick up the phone and there's Ringo on the other end. It's like wow, that's just
Ah,
cool.
yeah. One of the Beatles calling me. He's wanting to do something, and you work with him and George Harrison as well.
And with George, yeah, George was a wonderful guy too. Every time I used to go to London, he'd invite me over, send a car, and just come over to the house, stay, and play, and just
Hang
um,
out.
yeah, hang out. So I'm saying, man, it's a blessed, charmed life.
Yes, yes, it is. It's I guess great when you meet your heroes, but especially in your case, you're working with somebody that has that so much energy and stuff to it. To be along them working on stuff and would be even more energetic and
Yeah, no, and you always ultimately learn more about a person after you've worked with them and spent some time in a studio together, and it's always you know you always find out a lot more, and I think it makes the music experience a little deeper as well.
yeah. Speaking of different people, this one looks like trouble. George Lopez.
Oh, he's cool
Like,
too, and he's a music lover.
yeah, he loves. I really loves music. You also have,
Yeah,
in your busy uh, career and all the stuff you have going on, you also have two different projects that I was checking into. One that is this one, real quick, which is the Brompton bike sculpts. Because you designed a model that you
oh
like, and that's something you developed.
that was a recent project that they called me. I mean, I'm a Brompton bicycle owner and fan
Uh,
of the last few years. They're really cool bikes, and they just fold into like thirds, and they fold into a small bike where you can fit in the suitcase. So I've taken mine around the world with me and ridden in at least a dozen different countries. Um, and so Brompton called and asked if I'd be up for designing a bike. They called about 12, 13 artists to see if we could design bicycles that could be auctioned off to help the crew members that have been out of work for this whole year. Then when people don't think about how many crew members it takes to put a concert on
yeah,
and keep the show rolling down the road. So these guys literally, I mean, everybody's income just got cut right off. And I thought it was a wonderful idea that they had to put this together. We have some bikes designed that could be auctioned off, and apparently they did very well with the auction, and a lot of people were able to benefit from that effort.
great, great. Yeah, you mentioned the touring industry. People go to shows, and we love the whole being part of the show. But you have 5 guys or 10 guys on stage, but there's 35 working in the back.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people
and
that
and at the end of the whole big picture, there's hundreds of crew members. You got the people from the venue who are setting it up, and there's security, there's drivers, there's technicians, there's people setting up every little piece of gear, every light, so
merchandise and everything. Yeah.
merchandise. So it's a big machine that got shut down for a year.
Yeah. How did you cope? I mean, you were busy, but how did you cope with the first shutdown? I mean, just being at home started to this whole
Yeah, I
process.
mean,
Now you guys are back out. Now you're in LA,
yeah,
right?
I'm in LA, but there's
You're
some touring coming up now, and things are starting to open. When I was home, though, for me, it was a blessing because I got to be home with the family. Usually, in a touring musician's life, you always have a suitcase packed, and you're saying goodbye most of the time, and
Mhm.
so for me, to get to spend that kind of quality time with the family was like a gift, and I really, um, that was the lemonade that came out of the lemons of the pandemic.
I saw you did some work. I mean, just videos of you and your son, Noah. He's
Yeah,
playing
Noah's
piano.
turned to one of my favorite musicians. He just turned 21, but we've been doing some gigs together, and we're actually putting together some material for a duo album, father son.
Wow.
Really excited about that because he's a senior now in UC Berkeley. But
Mhm.
when he gets out, I figure we'll be able to tour, and if we put a project out, that'll be something that just that first of all I've never done, so it'll be a new experience,
Uh,
and it'll just be fun to make music with my son, who again has turned into one of my favorite musicians.
that's awesome that you get now to work with your son, and then just the whole experience should be great. Father and son, on the road or just having fun. And you seem like you enjoy a lot what you guys are doing, him and the piano, and you're just jamming
Yeah,
along
we
and all that.
we have to we have to sometimes, at 4 in the morning, we have to just force ourselves to go to bed because we're down in the living room playing, and he has a Hammond organ. We got him that he just taken to. He really loves playing that too. So between that and the piano, and like I say, we have so much fun playing together, and I just love the entire father son connection. Anyway, I mean, I think um, that's a very special connection that I value a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. And also, I was checking out again. You were busy, but you're still, giving out bass lessons, and you're putting all these amazing courses on artistworks.com. Can you talk about a little bit about that and how that process goes, and what's how do they get to be your students, and you get to teach all these submissions of
Right.
different.
Well, a lot of times I'm asked to teach, and as I travel, people, do you teach? And I don't really have time for one-on-one lessons. But
Mhm.
through artistworks.com, I have a bass school, and they have every instrument covered. They have like 40 faculty members over there that you can learn anything from.
Yeah, I saw Peter Erskine playing drums and different people
Peter
giving
Erskine's
lessons.
over there, Eric Marienthal, and Paul Gilbert's teaching guitar. And so it's a great platform that we can teach musicians around the world. And I've often been on, I was in Indonesia and ran into one of my students there, and
Oh,
in
awesome.
walking down the streets of Turkey, and the guy came up to me and said, "I'm one of your students," and it was just amazing when you think about it. So hundreds of students around the world, and we're able to send videos back and forth. It's almost like a live situation, but it's through video exchanges where we can exchange ideas, sort of like we're doing here. And I think it's a wonderful program, to keep educating people and keep music moving forward.
Yeah, live music should be coming back more than just the little button play
Yeah,
show.
and there's a lot of talent there too.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen something that amazes you that you've seen in those students or classes? You go, man, this guy can really knock it out.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite new players is Justin Lee Schultz. He plays everything: bass, keyboards, and his sister plays drums, and plays guitar, and is just a gifted player. So, you see a lot of young new players out that are doing great. Jacob Collier, Corey Henry. I mean, these guys are just taking it to another level.
And all these guys are like 7 years old, right? Have you ever get amazed how these little kids play bass and they play guitar, they play drums, and they're like, man,
Incredible. Yeah, no, I got socks older than these guys. Come on.
I know, right?
No, it's really fun to see.
Amazing.
It does my heart good, because it knows that that in the future there's going to be some amazing music still.
Yeah, finally, hopefully that would be something. I need to ask you a question, because a lot of my audience that I talk to, I do interviews in Spanish and English, but they're not gonna forgive me if I don't ask you, working with Luis Miguel, because I know that speaking Spanish.
Yeah, well, he's
audience that we have, they're gonna say, hey, he played with Luis Miguel, especially my friends, girls, and say, hey, how come you never asked him about that? I think he's frozen. Just when we're getting to the good part. Let's see if he comes back live. I think his internet is a little off. You can tune in this conversation again. You can review it once we have it on and check it out. We talked to Mr. Nathan East. I think he may come back in a little bit, hopefully so. Great stories, amazing career. Nathan's actually going back on tour with Eric Clapton, that I saw the press release, this year and the next year. We're doing a run of shows in the US and later on in Europe. And just a really amazing career, how this musician has gone from playing many great records with many great artists and many great songs that we hear all the time, and never realize that, like we were mentioning earlier, the different musicians that are involved in all these recordings, and we don't know that it's the same crew of guys over and over, going different studio sessions and calling each other to be part of their projects, or somebody can't do it and then somebody else calls somebody else and say, hey, this gig going on. We are waiting to see if Mr. Nathan East comes up again, so that we can continue and finish our conversation today. You can check out our I'm trying to see if he's going to join us back. We can find all his different outlets: Instagram, Nathan East; YouTube.com, Nathan East; Twitter.com, Nathan East; use Brompton Bicycles; and also artistworks.com, which is the project he was talking about earlier when he designed this bicycle. And in order to support musicians, all the crews around the world. Let's see if he can able to join us in. Let's try to get him a little call. He's saying he's going to come back. We'll wait. Hey, nothing like live TV. Glad to have him back. Let's do a little bit of a history on Mr. Nathan East recording. Just look at that bass and just the presence and You ever seen him live, video wise or in concert? That's with Mr. Eric Clapton we were talking about earlier. Steve Gadd, David Sanborn, Herbie Hancock, uh, Stevie Wonder, Pat Metheny, Dennis Chambers, Jeff Beck, Willie Nelson. I'm sure that was an interesting meetup. We showed earlier George Lopez, Steve Carell. This is when he was in Toto for a while, touring with them. That must have been a hell of a show. Just the combination of musicianship into one great band. Mentioned Brampton Bikes that he designed, and as well artistworks.com, which is the online school that he's part of. That you can, it's actually pretty cool because you can go on and send your submission, and then you get a response, and then you, like he was saying, you interact via video messages, and you know, he'll tell you tips and or how to work on your musicianship and play better. So look into that. And there's a lot of other artists in this course, not just Nathan, but it's a lot of different options to. He was saying different musicians from jazz, rock, all kinds available through this platform called artistworks.com, and check it out. Should be interesting. Check out my page if you have a chance. You'll find some other interviews. Mr. Ron Moss, we interviewed a couple of months ago. Very, very interesting conversation. Mr. Ron Moss was Chick Corea's manager for a while, and then you know, that's Mr. Nathan East again back in the day. So yeah, check out the YouTube channel at Concert Tours, Facebook page at Concert Tours, and you will find a lot of these interviews in Spanish and English, mostly about music, or all about music. But this is what we enjoy doing once we have a chance to talk to great musicians like Mr. Nathan East. Hopefully he'll be joining us again in a little bit. Let's see the message. He should be coming in soon. Just wait. Hopefully we can recap this last part of the interview. I mean, I'm sure he has great stories to talk about just working with so many musicians. Let's see if he comes out. Send a message. He's coming back. Just give him a few minutes so he can reboot his computer. He has some issues like we all have with technology and internet. He should be coming in a little bit. There we are.
Hey, my apologies. My computer, I was just talking away, and then all of a sudden, plop.
I know it happened. I was saying, hey, you know, there's live TV. You know, Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter.
So we had to try to do a quick turnaround, but it just, and then it wouldn't start. It said it crashed, and so I think it's about time for a new laptop here.
There you go. I always say that. Yeah, I mean, you should get times when you get a new iPhone or new
Yeah,
what
yeah,
have you.
this one's pretty old. So anyway,
Well,
sorry about
that's all right. We're talking about Luis Miguel. If I don't ask that question, people that check this show and are, fans of him or speak Spanish will say, "Hey, come here and ask me about Luis Miguel."
that. Yeah, well, I mean, he's an amazing artist, and we had a lot of fun in the studio. He's a good guy, great singer, and
Hmm.
I remember he was telling me he had a concert in Mexico City, and now there's this. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Thought I had all this stuff turned off, and
You see, and now the phone's going off. It's like
now the phone's
poltergeist
going
all
off.
over.
Yeah, it's a crazy life around here. Yeah, and he was telling me about a concert that he had in Mexico City. That he was 30 days booked at this one arena, and he was actually staying right across. And he said all his family and everything wanted to come, but he said he didn't have anybody visitors because he was going to sing, and he didn't speak all day every day.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
he used to do runs of shows, like 30 shows, like you mentioned.
unbelievable, incredible artist,
Yeah.
and singer. I had invited me to one of his shows here, and I went, and I've never seen so many girls going crazy at a
I
concert.
know it's a bit like Beatlemania
Yeah, it's
in
incredible.
in Spanish. It's
Right.
just
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, he has a great band, as well, not just that he has going on, and great musicians as well, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure he's must have been an experience to work with Luis Miguel. I know I was gonna get asked
Very cool
if you
people.
of part of your long career. Nathan, one last thing you can share with us as far as your career. I know you're gonna go on tour very soon with Eric Clapton in the
Yes,
States and in Europe. You're excited to go out back finally. Oh
absolutely.
God, get out of the house.
Well, no, we got shut down. We had an entire tour planned, and then when this all happened, everything got shut down. So um, now we've all been good for a year, stayed home, and now I think it's going to be fun to go back out and see people and play.
Yeah, the closest city to me is Austin, September, I think. So
Ah,
should try and catch up that. And then Jimmy Bond's opening for you guys on this tour in the U.S.
yeah, the great Jimmy Vaughn. It'll be great to see him as well. The
He's
other fun thing about touring is you just get to see all your friends and hang out, and so it's very cool.
Yeah, but Jimmy Bond, I mean, it's like an Austin staple. Have you ever been to Sea Boys? It's as small as this room. It's a bar, and there's Jimmy Bond and Charlie Sexton, and they're all hanging
Wow,
out, and the Black Crows or whoever. You just see people hanging out in the little bar in Austin. Is like so typical of you, catching up with so many artists. But Jimmy, I've seen at least twice in that little bar. He just comes in and
wow,
plays $5 at the door.
amazing.
It's just an amazing guitarist. It's
That's
such
incredible.
such
Yeah, I love him. Every time I play with him, I learn something.
yeah. He's great. I wonder what his brother would have sounded like. But I mean,
Oh man,
just
yeah. Rest in peace.
were you part of that touring group when Stevie Ray Vaughan passed away? Were
Yeah,
you in
yeah. We
that
played
tour?
together. We did one last jam together. Yeah, in Alpine Village. Yeah, Alpine Meadows.
Hmm.
And so yeah, I just got to see him on the last night. So
Wow. Wow. I mean, great experiences and also some sad ones. You know.
yeah, yeah. Everything from A to Z in this life, but yeah, we try to hang on to the good ones.
Yeah. One last thing. You also do voice work. I just realized you also there's like 20 different shows, and there's your voice talking, and you have all this going on. Now listen to jazz.
Oh yeah, I mean it's fun. It's fun. I think I'm a frustrated disc jockey too because I always like to
DJ.
announce the 21 degrees in the city.
Uh,
No,
take
but
the
it's
exit.
fun. It's fun to do anything that connects you to people and music. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a different process, but it's a cool one that you can kind of tell a story, and you can go back and say it again, especially in
Yeah,
the studio.
I like your studio there. Looks pretty cool.
I have my different stuff. I'm a rock fan. Yeah, you're gonna see my little dark
Oh, wow.
secret Kiss
Wow.
fan. But
Look at all that. Oh,
look at my
look at
picture.
you.
Look at a picture with Chick Corea over here. You see in
Oh,
the back
cool.
from many years ago, and there's more in the other room.
Oh, very cool.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that's all fun memorabilia,
Say, speaking of and rock and all that, is rock dead? What do you
No,
think? Listen,
no, not even.
right? I
Yeah,
mean, like you were saying, there's many young bands and musicians that they'll surprise you with their ability and their skills, and I'm sure they're doing great music. We just need to get them out and put them on, not on the radio maybe, but just give them the opportunity to be heard somewhere.
yeah, yeah. No, I think, and the good ones will always rise. I feel like there's always going to be, regardless of how the delivery method changes. I
Hmm.
think people that have the passion and the ability and the love for it will always manage to get out there.
What's on your playlist on regular, on your Spotify or in your, what do you play on your
I mean, I
regular day in your car?
I mean, I have a Pat Metheny channel on my Spotify, and it ends
That's
up being,
me. No, that's somebody else. That's me. And
yeah, no, it's and I mean, again, I love all types of music. Sometimes I just go over and listen to Rachmaninoff Symphony Number 2 in E flat minor, or the classical radio, or it just depends on the mood.
correct. Yeah. Music will always be the tune of our lives. We hear a song or a tune and it just brings you back memories. It's like smells.
Yeah.
You smell something, goes takes you back.
Okay.
Nathan, once again, you got
I have to show you this real quickly because
no
um,
problem. No.
this is my buddy
Okay.
David H from the group Toto.
Oh yeah. Tell him say hi.
He was
Tell him to say we said hi.
And then let me just, if you don't mind, I'm gonna grab, because we were supposed to meet up there. There you are, David,
Hey,
my brother. Are you here? You at the front door? Okay, I'm coming down.
don't say hi. Just real quick. Just say hi. Just come over.
Say
Come on. No,
oops,
but then
sorry,
come over. Go get him. Go get him.
I
Come on the
lost him.
door.
But yeah, actually, we were supposed to meet up. But thank you. It's been a pleasure catching up with you. And sorry,
Same
my
here.
computer crashed.
Not a problem. Appreciate your time and help, and let us know what you guys are working on if we have a chance with David at
Yeah,
some point.
absolutely. Wait, stand by. Let me see if he's
Yeah,
out here.
bring him over. Say hi real quick.
I have to get my
Oh, gear.
disconnect here for a second,
Not a problem.
and then
So we got two guests tonight from Toto and Mr. Nathan East. You see, you should have stayed when his computer shut down.
well,
See here?
it's gonna be a little bit of an issue to get him up here.
Hey,
But
not a problem.
I'll tell you what. Next time we'll have him by my side.
All righty. We'll figure it out. Now we have talked for a while, and it was a great conversation. I appreciate your time and help and everything you've done. And last thing, just your social media and all the things you're talking. I was just showing these many Instagram.com Nathan East, YouTube Nathan East, Twitter Nathan East, usbrampton.com, and artistworks as well.com for all the information on what's going on.
Absolutely. And if you're out there, come out see us in September with Mr. Clapton, and then come out to Tahiti and catch us on the Jazz Weekender Tahiti cruise, which is April 23rd through 30th, 2022.
Awesome. Shout out to Mr. David Page, and hopefully he'll join us next time.
Absolutely. Cool.
Nathan, awesome talking to you. Keep in touch. Appreciate it.
Gracias. Bye.
Thank
for now.
you.
Bye.
Bye. That was Mr. Nathan East. You see, we could have had two guests one time. Maybe next time. Thank you all guys for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.